Greetings, flesh creatures. It is I, Megatron. On behalf of TFYLP, I want to congratulate you for listening to the most refined collective podcast on this miserable little planet Earth. Yes. Here you'll find knowledgeable fans discussing every aspect of Transformers and beyond. Now, enjoy the show while I continue my path to complete conquest of all of you miserable biological entities. Predacons, terrorize!
Hi, welcome to TFYLP, episode 568. We're live tonight. It is Tuesday, February 27th. I'm Lucas. I'm joined tonight by Anna.
Good evening.
And Rick.
Hey everybody, happy 2024. It's Rick, first episode of the new year. It's good to be here. Celebrating what? 11 years on the show? 12 years on the show?
Wow.
I actually think it's 13 years. No, 14 years. So on our graphic it says celebrating 10 years from 2010 to 2020. And I think Duran actually made a new one. I haven't actually put it up yet. But yeah, so I think it's actually been 14 years. We were just using the same background for like 4 years.
Right, but I've only been on the show for 11 years. So we start counting.
Okay, well that's the
there's BC AD, DR AR, before Rick, after Rick.
Okay.
What's funny about that is when I was getting the link for the show, I saw an episode from 4 years ago that had me and Lucas on it. I was like, geez, we've been on here forever. And then you're like, I've been here 11 years.
We should do this. We should do a show where we look back at all our hairstyles and wait. And just see how some of us just keep getting bigger and balder and, in Lucas' case, hairier. Well, at least in the back.
Right. Thanks, Rick. I appreciate it.
And we do like one of those quick slideshows of Anna, and her hair just keeps going.
What happened? It also changed colors.
There you go. So what brings us to TFYLP tonight?
I think we're going to talk gimmicks or something like that. But first, before we do that, I was just wondering, Ron in the chat, or I'm sorry, Zeldron in the chat is wondering how many 5-packs did everyone buy today from Hasbro?
Limit 3 if you were fast. Then it went to limit 1.
I got 3.
I personally got none from Hasbro because I snoozed, and so I had to get it from BBTS, but I got one from BBTS.
Yeah, I'll admit I didn't get any from Hasbro. I got them from Big Bad. Yeah. So I got 3 from Big Bad.
Yep. Which they'll probably actually get them first. I feel like usually they ship their stuff out a little bit faster, but
yeah, I'm pretty happy with those colors. So might as well sell the old ones off now. Well, you still can.
Do you think you can now at this point? Like, I don't know. I feel like it's too late.
That's why I'm selling these guys. Because it's only a matter of time before somebody does a more tune accurate masterpiece style of these guys. Well, so they've got to go now while the going's good.
I feel like the hard thing with Fans Hobby, right, is none of their stuff is 100% accurate, right? But it's like the only representation. Stylized. But it's the only representation of a lot of the characters they've done.
Yeah, but where are they now?
So
they're still a company, right?
The 5-packs have been in the port since January. So does that mean that we're going to get them right away? Oh, I didn't know you had that, Anna.
Oh yeah, I have Double Evil. I got it recently.
What do you
That's
think?
what Fans Hobby's up to right now, re-releasing it. I absolutely adore the damn thing. It's so easy to transform. It looks so much like Overlord. It's so cool. Like it's taller than me, so it's a little ridiculous, but it's great. I really like it. I really love Super God Master Force, in case anyone listening doesn't know that. So I'm willing to go for the fans hobby super fancy giant figures for it. And now I have all of them that they've produced of the Super God Master Force characters.
There you go.
It was not a
have a beer.
Right? Not a low entry point into those.
You missed your car payment.
Entry point at all.
So Rick, Ron was wondering, will those monster bots be up for sale at your store?
Yeah. Oh, speaking of store, yes. For the few who know, I am opening up a collectible toy and comic book shop. Hopefully at the end of March, I'm going to put these in my store. People who drop the code TFYLP will get $5 off their purchase in perpetuity.
Nice.
So the store is called Has Been Collectible Toys and Comics. I don't know if I've ever mentioned this on the show before, but I used to work at Hasbro, but I don't anymore. So that makes me a has-been. These are vintage toys. So these has-been toys. And the Hasbro logo is a bright blue cube with a smiley face. The has-been logo is a droopy cube with a frown, glasses, and a receding hairline. Stay tuned.
There you go.
At end of March.
So are you going to have an online presence and everything?
No, I actually don't have the staff for that. I barely have. I actually just had to hire someone for my frame shop. Because it's too much. Now I'm trying to, I got the 2 kids that I know of, right? I'm trying to juggle that, and I'm basically an Uber for my kids. I got to drive them here, drive them there to their friend's house to dance, violin, and then I got to do frames. Most framing happens after hours. And then for some reason, I thought, hey, it's going to be a good idea if I start another business. Yeah, that's great. That's a great move at 44 years of age. Let me start a second business. I was going to start a competing frame shop, but I couldn't get anyone to man it.
So is this really because your wife was like, hey, we need to get some of these toys out. Like, just start selling some of this shit. And you're like, I'm too lazy to sell on eBay, so let me go ahead and open up a toy store in the frame shop.
No. Both my businesses came about because of my current wife. Or as I like to call her, my practice wife. Mm-hmm. She gets a little annoyed when I call her the first wife. So,
okay.
I was sitting there one day. I went into the frame shop. I have this huge art collection of Transformer stuff I was getting framed. And one day I find an Errol Norum original, and I bring it in to get it framed. And my framing spiritual sensei says, that's really cool, but I think I'm going to close my shop next month, so I can't do it. And she doesn't have any kids. And I'm sitting there all bummed out. And my wife looks at me. She's like, what's your problem? Like, Kimberly is going to close the frame shop. I don't know what I'm going to do. And she looks at me. She's like, you're creative. Just buy the place. So the next day I went in as Kimberly was closing, and I convinced her to stay open for a whole other year while she taught me how to be a frame master. And here we are 3 years later. I was going to buy a comic book store in Connecticut, and the deal fell through because the numbers were shady. And my wife's like, what's wrong with you? I'm like, I'm not going to buy the comic book store. And my wife's like, so just open your own store. And so here we are 6 months later, getting ready to open my store.
That's exciting.
So is this going to be a comic book shop as well?
Yeah, so it's a comic book shop as well. I'm not going to have brand new comics right out the gate. I have a decent selection of comics. First appearance of Watcher, first appearance of Kraven, first appearance of Electro in Marvel Comics, first appearance of Mysterio, first appearance Nick Fury. I've got a pretty decent selection. First appearance of Reverse Flash. They range anywhere from, $50, $60 all the way up to a couple $100 to $1,000 a piece. These are all, 1960s. Got them from the original owner who bought them at the newsstand back in the day. If you guys have ever seen that Hulk #1 that I framed, that was a gentleman. I framed his Hulk #1 for him. So
well, hey, see, Phil. I was wondering if you were gonna go ahead and just buy backstock from St. Mark's Comics and Nick. That he just give you all the leftovers.
Right. Well, I've considered it, but I'm going to take a different approach to comics. I'm going to do the high-end comics and let people subscribe to whatever books they want, and I'll bring those in.
Okay.
And then if the comic stuff picks up, well, then I'll bring in a lot more new books.
Fair enough.
It's a hefty bill every month. I mean, if you brought in every book that comes out every month, it's like $10,000 before you make a single dollar.
Right. I'm sure Nick could all tell us.
So.
But hey, that way you can get your 62 versions of Transformers #1, right?
Yes, and lucky for me, there's only 42 versions of Transformers #7. Okay, so good. I'm at 31 right now. I'm hoping that in the next couple of years I can get close to having them all. Transformers #7. Why? Why that issue? I don't know.
It's the start of a new arc.
We do know. Yeah, it's the start of a new arc.
Oh, well, I've only read the first 3.
Oh, yeah.
I don't have time. I got these kids and this work.
Well, plus, Ron says that you need to just put the kids to work in the shop.
I tried that, and there's a good tax loop for that, actually. No, but my kids are all they do dance, 5 days a week, and violin, and there's only so much there's only so much leeway I have with their bio mom.
Hey Phil, welcome to the show.
Howdy. Sorry for being late. Just had some weather issues that we had to get through here. And
I don't know if you've noticed, Phil, but I'm trying to copy the beard look you've got going on.
There you go. I thought you were doing the clean shaven for a year.
Years up, baby.
Oh, okay.
Wow.
For some reason, I thought that was Jan 1 to Jan 1. I don't know.
Maybe that
was last year. Okay.
It's February, dude.
But this Jan 1. I don't know.
That was December 25th to December 25th. I gave my wife 1 year of no beard. No facial hair or any hair anywhere except for my head.
Did she want it back by the end of that year? Or
No. Okay. She hates the facial hair.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And it's weird because I want to shave my head again. She's like, don't do that. I'm like, but I mean, it's, there's not much going on, I'm not afraid.
I feel like at our age, if you shave it, it may not come back.
Oh.
One less thing.
Yeah.
Hey, one less thing to worry about.
Yeah.
When I shaved my beard, it grew back. Now it's all gray.
There you go.
I will say my next door neighbor is bald, and I do get jealous of him in the winter of being able to just throw on a winter hat and not worry about how his hair looks.
Yeah. Yep.
So
first world problems.
Tonight we're supposed to be talking about gimmicks, right? So that's the main topic. So now that we're 15 minutes in, we can go ahead and start. And I guess Rick, with you being on, I'm really curious. When you were at Hasbro, like, how did you decide what gimmicks to put into the line?
So there's an interesting story here about Transformers Prime. So they kept so the design team gathered off site. They booked this big hotel and they had the whole design and the whole marketing team there. And I was like, 6 or 7 months in, and they put me, there's like, this is the meeting with Rick. And I'm like, Aaron, you're going to this, right? He's like, nah, I'm taking a personal day. I'm like, all right. So I have to go in and be the Orson that day. And I'm explaining Transformers Prime to the team for the first time. Like what it's going to be about. I'm showing them the concept art. I'm letting them know who the people are at the studio that we're talking to. And they're like, Rick, what themes are there? And I ask them, I'm like, what do you mean by theme? Like a theme. Well, they transform. They're Transformers. That's the theme. They're like, yeah, but what's the theme? What's the theme? I'm like, the theme is they're Transformers and there's Autobots and Decepticons. And now everyone's starting to get a little peeved at me. They're like, this is what happens when you bring in the Utaku and you hire him to work with the big boys. All right. So I'm like, well, Michael, what are you talking about? This is Michael Baylog, who is now, he's a wonderful man. At the time, he didn't want me hired, but he's a wonderful man. He said some really nice things about me once he understood me. So I'm like, well, I guess the theme is they all have weapons that transform out of their hands. And they're like, okay. So they all have weapons that transform out of they're like, everybody has weapons that everybody's got weapons that transform out of their hands. Everybody. Everyone.
Even the teenagers.
And everyone's like, oh yeah, you hear the yeah. And that's how we get the weapons that don't transform out of their hands. We get the weapons that you put in their hands and you press the gimmick and the weapon transforms. And you can't, there's no button to hold the weapon in transform mode. So that's how we got those weapons in Transformers Prime.
So it's all your fault. Story. What you're saying, it's Aaron took a personal day, and there we are.
What was he going to say? The show wasn't about a gimmick. The show was about, we were getting back to it wasn't Cybertron, Energon, Armada. It wasn't animated. Animated was the gimmick. It was just Transformers. We're coming off another movie. We want to make a show that will trick kids into thinking it's part of the movie if they want to believe that. That's the show. And then at some point we had another meeting like a few months later, and they're like, Rick, so what kind of ongoing themes are there in the show? And I'm like, what? They're like, like what type of things happen in the show? And I was starting to run down each episode, and they're like, no, come on, what, like, give us the, broad thing. And I'm like, Dark Energon. They're like, oh, everyone's banging on the desk. They're like, can we sell that as an exclusive? Guy at the exclusives, he's like, yes, okay. And we got that Dark Energon exclusive that went to Big Bad Toy Store, and as far as I know, it was the best-selling thing they've ever had. And they're like, Rick, figure out the Dark Energon thing. I'm like, what? It's like, yeah, figure out what color he's using. I'm like, all right, well, we'll make the one guy look like Skywarp. We'll make Wheeljack look like Slicer, because we're never going to get that figure. So we'll make him look like Slicer. Knockout, I don't know. What's your favorite color? And I should have known right then and there. bastard. He's like, green. Like, we'll make him green. And the guy, a few months later, he's like, who's to say there can't be a green Optimus? That guy's not there anymore.
So, question from the chat, Rick. Do you think that it would be easier today to come up with a gimmick in the Generations toy line since there's no media and adults are the majority buying the toys?
Well, we had Headmasters come back, right?
Right.
We have those fossilizer guys that make, which I think is a great idea.
Right.
Those fossilizer guys, which amplify your figures. You can say 5mm ports.
Yeah.
As a gimmick.
No, I mean, definitely with Siege, that was pretty much one of the big gimmicks with that.
Right. I mean, 5mm ports, beautiful concept. They're like the inverse of Minicon pegs. Right. But if I had to come up with a new theme, a new gimmick, knowing that it's for collectors and they love their G1 with little sprinkles of Japanese and animated and Armada sprinkled in and comic book references sprinkled in, I'll throw this at you off the top of my head. Do a line of Transformers that come with a human avatar. Because there's nothing I want more in this world than to have World's human avatar with her eye patch and the eye patch on the Autobot symbol.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. That's off the top of my head. Selling a non-transforming thing with a Transformer. Does the human fit inside the Transformer? No! Does the human combine with the Transformer? Maybe the human turns into a gun. Sure. Maybe the human turns into a sword. Or maybe the human turns into a T-Rex. I don't know. Anamorph that.
Yeah, I think the little figure that comes with the Transformer has been the most consistent Transformers theme or gimmick. I know when we brought up the idea, Christian's big conceit was, isn't the big gimmick transforming? And yeah, that's true. The most consistent gimmick in Transformers is transforming. But I think little small figures that somehow play with them has just been this consistent gimmick. And I remember loving Target Masters as a kid, right? That was like my favorite thing. Because I could take the gun and be like, you're not a gun anymore. You're now a person and you like flowers and cookies and you don't shoot. Right. And it was better. I didn't want them to be violent with their guns. So I loved it.
You know what? I would love to bring back dedicated groups. Like this whole wave is just a Target Master wave. This whole wave is just Insecticons. This whole wave is just different Viacons. This wave, they're just Transformers. They're just Autobot cars. These guys, Cyber Planet Keys.
Well, the Cyber Planet Keys, that's interesting because that was, what was it, the Cybertron line? And, that's been what? I mean, boy, it's been close to 10 years now. No,
20 years.
20 years. 20 years.
20
Gosh,
years.
Darn it, you're right.
22 years.
Yeah. So that was a super fun gimmick at the time. And we haven't really seen that with modern figures. Even when they've done masterpiece versions of those, they haven't come with the keys.
But we've seen Headmasters come back in mainline.
Yep.
So never say we've seen Micromasters come back. So
yep.
Never say never, right? We have a version of Action Masters, I guess, with the Super 7 and the reaction figures.
Right.
Well.
So anything is possible. I mean, we have 4 different masterpiece skids. We have a masterpiece Black Arachnia. anything is possible. Any figure from any toy line with any gimmick is absolutely possible. And who's to say that next year we won't get a Psykill? Like a dedicated Psykill. He can't be called Psykill. Can't be, but maybe he's called Cycle. All right.
Rick, there's a gimmick that been around in toys for decades, even before Transformers. But aside from like the racetrack, transforming cars from the 80s, I can't think of any examples that's ever had this in Transformers, and that is glow in the dark. I would assume it's a plastic issue, but I'm surprised we don't have a Transformer that has maybe armor or weapons that glow in the dark, because that'd be pretty neat and fun.
I love glow in the dark, and anything Super 7 makes glow in the dark, whether I like that line or not, I get it. But we brainstormed and tried to figure out a whole glow in the dark Energon Transformers line. And what we came up with, this was a whole brand initiative. The whole team was working on it. We came up with a figure that you take a little capsule, like a glow stick, you crack them open and you wave it around and it glows. You put the capsule in the chest, close the chest, and it glows. And we did a lot of research on this, and we said, all right, can we put them in the weapons? All right, how big do they have to be? The problem was we got pretty far along. However, we ran into a problem because those glow sticks have glass inside of them. So what happens if they break? What happens if you ship them and they break during transit and the kid gets it and the function doesn't work? What happens if the kid cuts it open and cuts himself with the glass? What about the toxicity level of the stuff that makes it glow on the inside? So that was a whole thing we were exploring and trying to come up with, and putting a little orb in the matrix and closing the matrix and cracking that orb and then having the glow, and it never materialized. As far as a reason why we never did glow in the dark stickers or weapons or deco, it's just cost prohibitive. Glow in the dark's expensive.
Yeah, that's what Ron was asking. That he was asking if it was super expensive, so it sounds like it is.
Yeah. I would have loved to have done it, and I think even for BotCon we threw it around a few times, and it's just too expensive.
Yeah, I guess the thing that I was thinking of with this gimmick specifically is this NECA Predator figure here, and this is based on a Kenner one, so the Kenner one was similar. So you have a toy that has some glow-in-the-dark parts, but not all of it is. So, if it's a plastic issue, again, like you just do the army. I mean, I think the other thing that made me think of this was specifically that new Rock helicopter that's coming out, and I can't remember that toy's name. But like the rock parts, if you made that glow in the dark, that would look really cool.
Yeah, it looked like a meteor shooting through the sky, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So
Is it Shard? Is that their name? Shard?
I think that sounds about right.
Better than Shart.
Yeah, better than Shard.
So
yeah, I would love glow in the dark. Glow in the dark's a great feature. I have all my Super 7 glow in the dark figures lined up next to each other.
Glow in the dark's neat. What about texture? Like, I haven't seen a lot of that in Transformers until the new rock people came out. And now those rock people have textured surfaces, right? They're textured to feel more rock-like. That's a cool thing. I haven't really seen them experiment with too much.
So, somehow, sorry, this is getting off the tracks, Lucas, but somehow I got a whole bunch of 12-inch G.I. Joes that were Walmart reissues dropped off in my office, and they were all fuzz heads, right? Where you open the figure and it feels like real hair, and the hands are like kung fu grip, so it's rubbery, right? They're very pliable hands, and I I remember I walked up to Joe Hyde with this figure in my. It was Joe who gave me the figures. I walked up to him, and I'm like, he's like, what do you want? Like, can we make a Masterpiece Optimus Primal, and the pink parts are this rubbery, and the gorilla parts are this fuzz head? And he looked at me and he said, "That's a cool idea, but we will never make a Masterpiece Optimus Primal." But that was, that was back when we were fighting to get girl figures in the line.
Well, I thought the rumor was before the Beast Wars figures came out that some of them would have flocking on them, but it sounds like that must have gotten cut before it actually came out, just because, again, expense, I think is what it sounded like. I have no idea. Like, obviously, this is all rumors. Whether or not it's true or not, who knows?
Yeah, who knows? Talking about gimmicks, I had mentioned Minicon pegs. And I think it was Aaron who told me the story that they even looked at taking the G1 cars that they were reissuing. It was back when they were doing like the book reissues.
Mm-hmm.
This is like 2000, 2001.
Right.
And they're like, yeah, we put a few Minicon pegs on them. And there's like a blue streak with Minicon pegs on the hood and on the doors. And it's like never materialized, but like taking that Minicon gimmick and transferring it to another line of Transformers. I thought that would have been what do the Minicons for a G1 figure look like?
Yeah, the Minicon gimmick was really cool because not only did they peg on to the toys, they also made them do things. So that was just a neat play feature. I didn't appreciate at the time because I was the wrong age. I was the teenager into my 20s, so I wanted these, I wanted everything to be MP. I wanted everything to be fancy and the prettiest possible and the most posable. But now as an older adult, looking back on it, I'm like, wow, that was actually a really good play feature that was interesting and a really good thing that they did. It's really cool.
And
to see a few Minicons coming back.
Yeah, it's crazy how we go through these cycles and different design directors have different thoughts and different theories about what a toy is. I remember when Eric Siebenaler designed the Energon Omega Supreme. It's a headmaster,
mm-hmm.
but he was forced to design it that if you take that headmaster off, there's a head underneath it. And the reason being because if the kid, what's the kid going to lose first? It's that head. Well, the missiles and then the head. So at least you still have that head where you can have a play feature and you're not walking around with a headless robot, right? 20 years later, Headmaster Blur, Headmaster Cop.
Right.
And we got to a point where we had Headmaster RC. And that was the day Don died.
Well, I'm
when
really
the
curious with
the come back. I feel.
Oh, sorry. What were you saying, Anna?
I was just gonna say when the gimmicks come back, it feels like they do less because it's like the headmasters came back, but they don't do the cool stats thing on the chest anymore. They don't do the text anymore, which I thought was really cool as a kid. Even though it was I just thought it was cool that you could put the wrong head in there and that it would get the other text specs. That was just a neat feature to my little kid brain. And then the Minicons, now we're getting Minicons back and they're fancier and they're nicer looking, but they don't do action features. They don't do anything. You just plug them on and they're just accessories. It's like when they come back, they're kind of losing some of the original charm and getting the charm replaced by just general quality, right? Like everything looks nicer, feels nicer, but it loses some of that original charm that it had in the old gimmicks.
Right. So this figure, it's a great figure, right? But it definitely loses something. Not like I keep wanting to put a Cyber Planet key right here in the scun. It's not quite the same. And this is a very posable figure, but the original version was super posable too. So what are we doing?
See, that one stood out to me. When I finally got that, I was like, oh, I finally have a new override. This is cool. And I was playing with it. It was just like, wait, this isn't actually more fun than the old one. It looks a little bit nicer. It's a little fancier. It poses, it's got, more joints overall, but it's not actually more fun. And that was just kind of a bummer.
Yeah, and that's how I felt too, looking at the videos of the HasLab Optimus and Ultra Magnus, where it just, you don't have all the play features that Optimus especially had. We were discussing last week, like just, pressing that button on Optimus's ladder and all the missiles just...
Yeah.
That's a ton of fun.
No, it's not. It's very frustrating when you're trying to transform it, but that's part of the magic of that toy.
It's good.
Yeah. And I get it. Not every play feature is good. There are definitely play features, and I would argue that some of the stuff with Armada, with the Minicons, got some use their play feature better than others. Some use the Minicon interaction better than others. Some were kind of bad with it. But again, we're 20 plus years past that, so to be able to make some of these toys and have those integrated features, I would imagine would just be a cleaner looking toy. So at the end of the day, I do kind of want that a little bit more. Like I was playing with my my son with Energon Landmine the other day, and he's also got Cybertron Mudflap. And those are two toys that I think would be really fun to get updates for. And I'd still like some of the play features, but having the maybe the sound and that sort of stuff removed. But part of me would feel like if we did get new versions of those, it would be just, to Anna's point, a little more boring.
Yeah, they're the original thing. They're nicer looking, they're pretty, they're fancy, but they just like that soul and charm they used to have.
We're so used to some of these.
Just...
Yeah. I'm sorry, Anna, go ahead.
Oh, no, I was just saying I'm not complaining about it. It's just kind of like something I notice a lot as my favorite things come back, like when Target Masters came back, like these are without a doubt nicer. And let me wedge this thing out again. He's got really tight joints because he's nice. These are nicer. The new ones are nicer than the originals. You cannot deny that. But somehow this little thin plastic to the point where it's almost translucent, very simple one joint gun transformer is more charming somehow.
I love Armada Megatron. One of my favorite OG toys from that line.
It's a neat toy.
And the new one, it's cool to have a new one with better articulation. But I miss that knife. I miss that knife feature. I just want that knife to come out and go shank, bam. And that's why, some third-party sets are so satisfying, because I can get that third-party set and make my Optimus Optimal have a fourth mode. I can give him the wheels he needs.
So the Minicons...
I would say the third party tried.
Oh, sorry. Yeah.
I was just gonna say I think the third party tries to capture more of the original features when they do stuff.
Well, I think it depends on the third party too. I know Fans Hobby, I feel like usually tries to throw in a lot of theirs too. But I was gonna say about the Minicons. So it seems weird to me that we've had a lot of Armada figures coming out and we haven't seen that many Minicons. Like we've only seen a couple, right? And so I really wonder if Hasbro designed it and that they tried to pitch it to the retailers and the retailers said, nah, like we're good. We don't really want those figures at that price point. That whatever core class or whatever the heck class that it would be for those, if they said, you know what, like we just don't want those in the store, because I feel like that size class, like with the Titan Masters and all that, like has pretty much been eliminated by Walmart. They really only want the $20 figures out there, right?
Right, but I think you're neglecting all the Earthspark toys, though, and all those different price points. Right? I mean, that's where mini-cons would exist.
Right.
So
I
I
does
just think
Earthspark
that
have mini-cons?
No, but they have they have different toys that are at that scale and in that price range.
Do they? Okay.
Right, those little box toys.
The little finger changers.
Yeah, whatever.
Oh, they're so great. They're so awful. I love them.
Yeah, they're terrible, but I need to have them.
I got one for Christmas. It's RC. I love it. It's so terrible. Doesn't even have arms.
So I just think they were probably designed without them, and for whatever reason, or maybe they said, hey, can we include a mini-con with it? Well, then we're forced to include mini-cons with a whole bunch of other characters too, and that's how you get Headmaster Blur and Headmaster Cup.
I think that's what's getting me about the Armada stuff is that for the Armada stuff, it's like it's a gimmick, but it's also another character. It's another figure. It's another important part of the toy that is a character too. You know, it's a living creature that has a mind and all that. So losing them kind of is a bummer. And it's almost frustrating that we've gotten two, but now Armada figures just continue coming out without them. Here's Armada Starscream. He has no friends.
All right, is
Armada Red Alert going to have a friend? Probably not.
Yeah. Armada Red
We don't
Alert's
know for
coming out.
sure, but
so
Tidal Wave, instead of having a friend, he has an extra self at his back. I mean,
yeah,
no friend.
Tidal Wave is an example of a gimmick pigeonholing a toy.
It is, yeah, because it's like, okay, the original gimmick, it's back, but it's lifeless because it's just an extra thing in there. Now, I adore that Tidal Wave toy, and I want it so much, but I really don't care about the extra backpack armor that he has to put on Megatron. Like, that's not a big deal to me. What I just like is how cool the toy looks.
Well, what's the broadside going to come with? Or does he not come with anything, then?
You know what he's going to come with? A back full of...
Oh, yes.
Blast effect. See, this is like one of the few modern original gimmicks, right? This is a modern times, a Siege and later Hasbro gimmick.
Hang on.
The blast effects.
Hang on. That blast effect was in Star Wars toys for over 10 years before we got it in Transformers.
Oh, yeah. Other toy lines have had blast effects. That is absolutely true. Just for us Transformers people, we started getting these at Siege. Now we all have 1 billion of them. And there's like, you know,
that they've kept up with the blast effects as much as they had, you know? Like, I would have assumed by this point they just like cut it. But yeah, they keep coming with random stuff.
To me, the blast effects just feel like, hey, we've got like 35 cents worth of extra budget for these toys. So what, you know, how do we use that 35 cents? I'll just throw in another color. Let's give them, you know, turquoise this time. We haven't seen turquoise yet. That'll be frustrating. And I'm, you know, sure for other collectors, they've already gone through this, but like going through that phase of then selling the toys that came with blast effects and having to track those down and people just being like, you're missing one of the blast effects. This isn't complete. What are you talking about?
Oh,
get a $20 discount on this $10 figure.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, the blast effects are a modern gimmick, and then the weaponizers, modulators, fossilizers, and the junkions, the take apart a person and put them onto your other toys. That's a modern gimmick too. And that one, I think I definitely like better than blast effects. I think they didn't implement it correctly until the junkions by giving them actual transformations and they come apart. That's way better than making them have to come apart to transform.
I wish we had more fossilizers. Because nothing says Transformers like the skull of a pterodactyl on your Autobot car.
I was a little bit sad they didn't do more repaints of that mold, whatever the heck it was again.
Wing Finger.
Yeah, I don't think this ever came out again, right?
No.
Only one Wing Finger.
Yeah. The originally was Styracosaurus. And that and the T-Rex came out like a bunch of other times, including with the Amazon, where they redid the Tyrannosaurus as a Spinosaurus, and then they redid the Styracosaurus first as a Triceratops and then as a Mastodon. So yeah, and Wingfinger just sort of like meh.
That's your response, Anna. Meh.
But yeah, I like the fossilizers a lot. I think they're really cool. My problem with the modulators and the weaponizers was that taking those apart, I could not visualize what they were supposed to turn into, right? Like the vague vehicles and the bases, like that just did not work for me from a visualization perspective. I was not good with that. The fossilizers I could see, because they were dinosaur skeletons or robots. I could do those in my head. But those first two sets, just like when I took them apart, it was just like, I now have a pile of pieces. I need my Lego instructions. Help.
Yeah, it's a puzzle in a different way than we're used to with Transformers. Yeah, I thought that was a cool feature. I guess to me, like, part of me thinks back to like the G2, like the later G2 toys where they were actually making new molds on the G2 toys, and you had like sparks and all kinds of spring-loaded launchers and color change. Like, I think is that the only time we've had color changing Transformers was in G2 at that point in time. So I mean, it just, and that's just pure 90s sort of like throw everything at the wall and see what sticks. And granted, not a lot of it did, but there is some fun to that. And again, we got that a little bit back with a bit with Armada, probably not so much. They kind of skipped it then with Energon, and then Cybertron brought a lot of those kind of, especially spring-loaded gimmicks back. And some toys, they put the gimmick in very cleanly and very nicely, and the toy was still neat, even though it had the gimmick in there. And other toys felt just, this is really suffering because of it. And then animated, you had some figures with spring-loaded features, not every single one, and some of those, like a lot of those features, worked really, really well in those toys, like Megatron and Ultra Magnus, where you could press kind of the button and their mouths would sort of move. They integrated those features in very nicely. I mean, if you think about Grimlock's sword, animated Grimlock's sword, where it had the spring-loaded feature of shooting out the flames at the side. Blur had like the little shield with the saw blade that came out. Slag had the little flames that came out of his shoulders that were a little bit spring-loaded. So you definitely had, I think, some really great toys in animated that still have some action features built in that, in my opinion, did not detract from the toy. And that's kind of what I want to see in some modern Transformers a bit more.
So they dropped the ball on not making the 15th anniversary of animated a bigger thing, then, is what you're saying.
The 15th anniversary of anime? I don't know. I mean, no, I mean, I don't dislike what they're doing, where we're getting, the new Optimus, the new Bumblebee, and some of that sort of stuff. But just, again, I just would like to see a little bit of that play feature seep back in. And I know you guys were talking about, hey, listen, in the Earth Spark toys, we get play features in those, and that's a line. Those are toys much more dedicated to kids, and there's a lot of different play features and spring-loaded stuff in there. And my kids have some of those. I don't know. I guess more so for figures that originally had action features. To get that built in a little bit more would be nice to see. If they're doing a new, Armada Red Alert, okay, can you figure out some way to get his action feature in, and just make it a cleaner toy?
Yeah.
But there's some toys that if you want to get them to the line, you're going to have to suffer and take a hit on how big it is.
Yeah. I mean, it's a give and take.
That's how we get Beast Machine's Cheetor.
As I was going to say, yeah.
Yeah.
He went from the biggest to the smallest.
That activated a whole desire I didn't realize I had. But I would really love to have Beast Wars figures that are to scale with some set of G1 characters. So, like, they're little animal-sized ones. So, like, if we got all the Beast Wars characters as, you know, Dr. Wu size to go with Masterpiece, it would be really cool.
Anna, we solved the problem of what the G1 mini-cons look like. Thank you. They're the Beast War characters.
Tiny animals. Yeah.
We figured it out. Teamwork.
Oh,
Rat Trap,
we did it.
Folds in half.
That's right. Rat Trap is Bumblebee's mini-con.
Yeah.
He's a
absolutely.
Yeah. He's a micro mini-con.
Inferno, you need a magnifying glass when you drop it.
No, he's actually the same size, and he just rides on top of Skywarp. You know, for some reason, he just hangs on to the back. Man, a lot to consider. This conversation went in a whole different direction I wasn't expecting.
Well, we're just talking about gimmicks forever, and I think we've had some really good ones. We've already talked about, I think Mini-Cons was probably the winner, right? Like, wasn't that like the coolest gimmick ever?
So is there a difference between a theme and a gimmick? Because, hear me out, is Transmetal a theme or is it a gimmick? Right?
Yeah, that's true.
That's a good question.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, those mini-cons define the Armada toys. It's like making a Transmetal Cheetor, but not giving them chrome.
So the name Transmetal specifically, I don't think it's a gimmick, but there were two gimmicks in there, and one was chrome and one was the third mode that's sort of a vehicle. And those are both gimmicks for sure.
Well, okay. I think a theme doesn't have to have a gimmick.
Right, a theme doesn't have to have a gimmick.
Is just a theme. There's no gimmick associated with Transformers Legacy.
Evo Fusion.
Oh.
What? What a name.
Yeah.
Mark say Evo Fusion. I can't figure out if he loves it or he
What does that even mean? What does it mean? What does a kid go, oh, it's Evo Fusion? What does that mean?
Evo Fusion.
Right.
It sounds like something out of Yu-Gi-Oh!
It's amazing. That's what it is.
The worst corporate, like, made-up word.
It really does.
Right. I'm sure they just came up with something to sell it to, you know, the retailers.
Yeah.
So
that's pretty funny.
Yeah, I guess to me, toy gimmicks, again, to Christian's point, transforming is the gimmick, but so many Transformers have had an additional gimmick, and this is going all the way back to G1 with, like, the jump starters and the triple changers, and, you know, Rick, to your point, like getting like kind of teams that were in there that had these little, you know, features, the throttle bots, the Sparkticons, all that. You know, so there's a ton of that going back into, you know, the annals of Transformer history. And again, it's there to an extent with the kiddie toys, but I want to see it back a little bit in some of these mainline toys that we do get. I mean, not studio series, but all right, your mainline generations, sprinkle that in a little bit more.
A couple of people in the chat are bringing up gimmicks that wouldn't fly today, right? So Sparkabots or whatever, right? Like, I'm not sure that you could put a sparking, you know, toy in there, and then also. Transformers never had it, but do you remember the toys that had the little cat gun?
Oh yeah, the RoboCop toy.
RoboCop,
yeah.
Was it Thunder Punch He-Man had
Thunder
that?
Punch He-Man.
Yeah. So,
I mean,
in my kindergarten, got one of those.
Back when we were kids, right? And we had guns that looked like guns that actually smoked, and whatever, and had the whatever cap gun stuff in there like that. Man, there's no way.
I remember getting on a plane with my cap gun 6-shooters. And I still have one of them. It's framed at the shop in a shadow box.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
So one of my favorite bygone gimmicks that I think got horribly neglected, and I always hope comes back, and it's kind of come back, is the alliance with the humans. When you just cover your Bumblebee in Shia LaBeoufs, and they do all sorts of fun things with them. I loved Human Alliance. Human Alliance was really cool.
Super articulated Human Alliance figures. The Transformers were great. The humans, they should have just made them like mask characters.
Yeah, the humans needed, like, they need a little more time to cook, right? These were not great. The face sculpts on them were funny, at least. They were not perfect. There's two different figures. Oh, wait, they're both
faces, I guess. So there's that.
They did. They painted the faces. They tried with the faces. My two Shias have different faces, of course, but, whatever. But I loved it because, they could sit in the driver's seat. They could be the actual drivers for the cars. And then they could sit in turrets and things. It was just fun.
If you can get your parents to transform it right.
They were pretty complicated. That is true. They were pretty complicated. Now, the G.I. Joe crossovers, they've brought back Human Alliance, in my opinion, because they basically have the same gimmick, the same complexity. They're just bigger. They're huge. And I love it. I'm so glad that Human Alliance came back through G.I. Joes.
They're the crossover we needed.
Yes, I think they're the coolest crossover yet. Even though I know a lot of people had complained. I guess that's a gimmick too, right? Crossovers. But the G.I. Joe ones are my favorite because they're really crossovers. They're really G.I. Joe vehicles. They really come with G.I. Joes, and they really play with the G.I. Joes. So they're really cool. I know people have been talking about what if the Turtles one is like that. It won't be because Turtles come from a different company, but it sure would be cool if it was.
Well, I hope with the turtle. I mean, it's going to be the turtle van. That's a no-brainer.
Right.
But it would be cool if we got like a techno drone or who does the techno drone transform into? Is it a new character or is it Unicron? Like, I think it would just be funny if it was Unicron.
That would be pretty sweet.
But they've all got to be new characters because they can't be owned by certain companies. Which is why the Transformer Star Wars figures had to be Star Wars characters, because there's this weird thing that if they had made the TIE Fighters into like the Seekers, then Lucasfilm would own those characters.
Right. That makes sense. Why they wouldn't do that.
So Joe is the only line where I don't believe in God, but thank you for making the Joe vehicles turn into actual Transformers and not into robot versions of Duke and Stalker and Cobra.
Oh yeah, me too. I'm glad for that. Even these guys have been a little bit of a stretch. Just the I'm a Jurassic Park character, so I'm holding up Autobot Newman, and I love it. It's fun, but it's kind of stupid that it's the human man's face on the Transformer.
It's too on the nose. It's
yeah, I agree.
It's too on the nose.
I only like that one because of who it is. It's more fun for that reason. the first one I didn't really care. He kind of had, I guess he was trying to be Grant, I guess.
You're the hat.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's no Nedry, and until there's a Nedry, I don't acknowledge that line.
So I was going to mention a couple of gimmicks that like we haven't really seen since G2, like the water play feature that we had with some of them, right? And then also like color changing.
We saw water play in Beast Wars.
Oh yeah, right, just a tiny bit of it.
Yeah, like we haven't seen water play since Beast Wars. But yeah, that's been missing in action. I don't know if that's because of Super Soaker or concern for these are indoor toys and water toys are seen as outdoor toys.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So something to consider. I don't know. Yeah, I definitely color changing falls in line with glow in the dark. It's expensive.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, you didn't have a ton of toys that had that in the 80s, but just Zartan, like you took him out in the sun and turned blue. Like that'd be great to see like some Transformer with that kind of feature.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Oh, some kind of stealth guy who, yeah. Oh, that would have been an amazing character to have.
Yeah.
Or Mirage. You put a Mirage in the sun and he turns blue or something.
Exactly.
And that's his invisible mode.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would be neat.
Or you dip Mirage in water and now he's invisible.
So what you guys play? They're your favorite gimmicks from the years. Mine was obviously, Target Masters and oh god, I guess Human Alliance is actually something I like more than Target Masters. I like a lot of them. What are your favorites?
Gimmicks. Favorite gimmicks.
There's a gimmick that wasn't in a Transformer toy. It was in a Toy Biz X-Men toy that I don't think I've ever seen this gimmick again. And it's one of the silliest gimmicks I've ever seen. And I'm not saying I want to repeat it. But it was Iceman. And what Iceman came with was a little like ice sled, but it was also an ice cube tray. And so what you would do is you would fill up the little ice sled with water and put Iceman standing on the ice sled in your freezer so that you would take him out. And he now had a real sheet of ice you could slide him across your floor or counter with.
I am today years old when I realized that, Phil.
You didn't know that's what that was for?
I just thought it was cool. It's like, oh yeah, it represents the ice. I never read the back of the box. I never played with one. That is awesome.
Yeah. Again, like, would I want to do that to any of my toys of like freeze them with water and do all that? Like, probably not. But just how just kind of outside the box and bananas that gimmick was. It just again speaks to the 90s of throw everything in the wall and see what sticks.
I'm surprised Hasbro hasn't done a Luke and Hoth freezer version. Where you can just hang them. Because every Star Wars collector, even me, who's a moderate, Star Wars collector in passing, even I've put a Luke in the fridge.
I've not done that. I guess I'm not a good Star Wars collector.
So yeah, I don't know. I've really enjoyed the weaponizer gimmick that they've had recently. I thought that was kind of neat. I don't know. Obviously, I would have loved to them to be able to transform without breaking them all apart. But like, I actually thought it was cool that you could kind of put them all over the figures and whatever. Like, fossilizers didn't work as much for me. But then like the Junkions, like I think that's been awesome too. So it's just interesting that they've kept a separate or like a similar gimmick going for years now. It seems like almost, because now we're seeing the Rock dudes that is kind of like this, almost a similar thing to that as well.
All right. So when Beast Wars comes back, there'll be Beast fossilizers.
There you go.
Maybe they should just call them beasties.
Furries.
Furries, yes. Furries. Great. I'm going to go with a simple gimmick that is still one of my favorites, and that's combining. I love gestalts. I love having them combined, and I love having a set in front of them, all in robot mode.
Well, and they're redoing some of the combiners. I don't know if you've seen the leaks, Rick, but so Devastator's coming out again. They're releasing them individually, and then it sounds like Superion is coming in.
Super Ion.
Right?
Maybe Bruticus, we don't know. Just Swindle so far. Swindle is the only character that can be by himself. So
yeah, he's actually just a Silverbolt remold. He's not even a remold. It's just a Silverbolt figure with a new head.
Swindle's head.
But it's movie Swindle head. So it's just the big eye.
Oh goodness. So if you're a combiner aficionado, do you prefer the combiners that all have to be in certain positions, or do you like to scramble your cities?
I like a little scramble in my jam. I like
scrambled, okay.
I like to mix and match, and I like taking off my aerial bots and put them in all my Metroplex. And I wish the big Titans would be more conducive to that.
Mm-hmm. It's a cool feature. I've always felt the scrambling is cool, but I never do it, right? Like I'm always just like, and then Minosaur is Minosaur, and this one's that one, and that one's that one, even though Minosaur wasn't originally one of them. But anyway.
I will say, when they're on my shelf, they're always in the way they were in the show.
Right. That's the same way I do too. I don't mix them up like I should. That was a fun feature. I just don't put it enough.
That was one of the things they did like about Power Core Combiners, is that Power Core Combiners had that feature, but you didn't have the original fiction behind it to say like, no, this is how it's supposed to look. So you could mix and match and do all that sort of thing. I mean, granted, legs had to be legs and arms had to be arms, but you know, my kids literally tonight were messing around with some of those guys, and they didn't care as long as they found 2 arms, 2 legs, and a main body. Boom, they're golden.
Boy, combiners have come a long way. We went from Train Bots and Devastator to the Scramble City model to whatever happened in Beast Wars to those Energon combiners, right?
Well, don't forget Rail Racer.
Oh, Rail Racer, yep, Rail Racer. So combiners have had a long evolution to basically get back to where they were in G1.
And don't forget Swoop and Grimlock from Energon.
Swoop and Energon for that whole.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
What was that feature called? Connect.
Power Links.
Power Links. There we go. Yeah.
Oh yeah, where's Anna at? We're talking about Power Links and she left. It's like one of her favorite things.
Well, they kind of brought Power Links back with the Earth Spark 2-packs of what is it, Mo and Bumblebee and Twitch and what's the brother's name? But yeah, those look awful. I mean, my point earlier was if they bring back these gimmicks, like make it look cleaner and better than it originally did, and those like go backwards so far in terms of good looking toys.
And then there's the argument, well, they're for kids. But you know what? Kids grow up. And 20, 30 years from now, are you going to put out masterpiece versions of those toys for the kids who are playing with them now? Or I don't know. Who knows what Masterpiece will look like in 20 years?
Masterpiece Malto bots. That's what it's going to be. Masterpiece Robbie Malto.
I'm super excited. On one of the leak lists, you got a Voyager Heatwave.
It's cool to see.
That's the size he deserves.
It is.
But it's going to be the Transformers Collector Club Heatwave.
As long as it's not the Angry Birds Heatwave.
So I missed the Power Links feature. I had my earbud in. I had to help with something in the house, but the Power Links was interesting. The pants and shirts was interesting. Like all the figures were kind of bad because of it, but it was interesting. Like it was just a fun thing to play with. I'm glad they tried it. I thought I wanted to see the new team, the new wave, the new world try it. And then they did those freaking Robbie and Mo combining with Bumblebee and whoever else, that they look terrible.
Yeah, I kind of want to see Power Links again, but like, hey, here's Optimus Prime and Optimus Primal Power Link. Right.
Oh, that'd be cool. Yeah.
That's what I want to see. Give me the old school Power Link with Optimus Primal and Optimus Prime. Right.
What about Optimus Primal and Skullcruncher?
Sure. And then I want my Titans to Power Link too.
Oof.
That's a heavy Power Link.
Yeah.
So they can just fall over.
Yeah, a set of hand weights to get ready for that one.
Here come the lawsuits.
That's a good play feature.
Mount your Titan to the wall so it doesn't tip over during an earthquake.
Right. It comes with these L brackets. You got to make sure you get it stud.
Yeah.
All right. Are we ready for least favorite gimmick?
Oh, I just thought.
I'm going to start as my least favorite gimmick. Toys. I really hate it when my Transformers are so delicious. My dog eats them. That's my least favorite gimmick.
Now,
how about my really super delicious Super 7? Okay, all right. It's a Transformer accessory. I mean, I have Transformers she's eaten, but this type of plastic, she loves it. Slightly soft. It doesn't. No, the head just kind of moves around. That's it. Hate when toys are edible because my dog just loves to chew on them. KO plastic is one of her favorite flavors.
Oh no, Anna, you've got a lot of KO plastic.
I know. I'm so worried that she's gonna realize that like there's 2 entire bookcases full of KOs, and she's gonna be like, buffet. Time to get them. It's gonna be terrible for me.
Man, I'm trying to think of like least favorite.
I mean,
gimmicks.
Do the tech Transformers from the first movie count? The tech gear?
Yeah. Wait, which ones were those?
Remember, like the console that would kind of transform into like a battle console, and then the cell phone that would transform into like a tool type of thing.
Yeah.
Those are as much of a gimmick as BotBots are. Like the gimmick is they turn into real world things that aren't really real world things. But didn't we all love that exact same gimmick in G1? Like Lucas talked about the role play figures so many times. Yeah, the real gear.
The real gear, yeah. So these are tech. Well, these are Transformers electronic combat hardware.
You didn't like those?
No.
I would say just given how poor execution has been on just about every toy it had at that Power Links, you know, whether it is the new Maltobots or whether it is Energon, it just the execution was no.
I will say there's a definite exception though, and that's Optimus and Omega Supreme.
That's different because those are 2 different size class toys. But when you have like 2 deluxes combining, like, you know, Rodimus's giant feet so that they can be stable to hold up the combiner, and then somehow you're supposed to just stick his arms behind him, kind of, you know, or you know, like Wheeljack's legs become his hands for his Power Links combining mode. you stuffed so much into those toys. Those toys had to have 4 modes: the upper body, the lower body, the vehicle, and the robot. And on the flip side, the Energon Decepticons are flipping amazing. Because their gimmick was more of having like a built-in weapon and that sort of thing, and so it didn't nearly detract from the actual figure itself. So those are examples of toys that I think had the gimmick done very, very well. But yeah, just from the sheer standpoint of like, never that I can think of seeing good execution, Power Links is my least favorite gimmick.
Can we discuss the least? Oh, sorry.
I was going to say that my actual least favorite gimmick would probably be the Return of the Headmasters, just because they got pigeoned into everything, right? It was just everything was a headmaster. So many characters that weren't headmasters became headmasters. Voyagers ended up with the same size head as deluxes. And then leaders ended up as deluxe size face heads wearing helmets. Right, like the whole thing happened to be cross-compatible, just kind of made a mess out of that toy line for me.
I would say I hate that whole toy line only because they gave us Headmaster RC.
Is that because you don't like the canon explanation for Headmaster RC, or
no? Somewhere someone's rolling over in his grave. We used to have this guy on the show, Don. But then they made Headmaster RC, and he sold his collection and got married. And now he's not on anyone's show. There's no other show he's on. Don't look. Don't Google it. Headmaster Don died. It's really sad.
I'm having a hard time letting you make this joke. I don't really want to make people think that Don's dead.
I miss Don. I wish he was still on the show.
He's not dead, everyone. It's not true.
I miss watching him walk around his kitchen. I miss, poor Massey.
I was going to say, do you miss Massey?
Yeah, Massey's gone to cat heaven.
Yeah. I think Massey legitimately died, so.
Yes,
yeah, that's why I didn't make a joke about that.
As opposed to illegitimately dying?
Anna, moving on. I was going to say, too, that poorly executed gimmicks, like, I agree with you on the Headmasters, like, that stupid Galvatron. Like, I really wonder if there was a good Galvatron, like, toy that got ruined by that gimmick.
Look at Super Megatron.
Yeah.
Yeah. Or Open and Play, right? Open and Play used that mold, and they give him an actual head, and he's fine. The Open and Play KO is just fine. They just took out the Headmaster feature, and the toy is A-okay. Super Megatron is fantastic. It's a remold of that stupid ass trash toy. Yeah,
I didn't hate the feature like on the deluxes.
It's fine on the deluxes. It works fine on those.
But I feel like that way, all of those era of toys was kind of like that, right? Like, if you just stuck to the original characters, like, I think that they probably executed those pretty well. But it's the same thing with Combiner Wars and the Combiners. Like, all of the regular figures, like, were somewhat trash. Like, the Dinobots were not very good. The Optimus Prime and, like, all those ones, what was the Optimus Prime called?
Optimus Maximus?
Yeah. Like, all those ones, too, like, those just weren't executed very well at all. But if you
like
just got the original
Streaker
ones,
and Ironhide and Hound.
Right.
And then they got forced into the comic.
Yeah.
But, I mean, at the time when those Dinobots came out, those were legit our first Chug Dinobots.
Yeah. That's true.
That looked like G1 guys.
Yeah. And the problem with those is they were close, and they just didn't hit the mark. And
But we didn't have anything else at the time to put on our shelves.
Yep.
No, we didn't. I mean, you had the originals, or I don't know.
We had War for Cybertron Grimlock. That was it.
Yeah, that's
and
always
that
a
weird
deal.
classic Grimlock that who knows? I don't know.
We
Based
got
off the Godzilla, the Matthew Broderick Godzilla movie.
Lucas, you might remember, but didn't the DX9 Dinobots come out about the same time as the Power of the Primes ones? So we had these really good legend-sized Dinobots coming out at the same time as these iffy deluxe-sized ones.
Yeah, well, and not to say like there's 1,000 masterpiece ones, and we had multiple. Toy World came out with a set of Dinobots, like whatchamacallit, Fans Project came out with the Dinobots too. So it's like everyone was doing Dinobots back there, and anyway, and then Hasbro came out with those. So it's like, I'm not really sure I need these.
Those iffy ones, yeah.
Yeah.
And then the first Volcanicus was just like, oh, that's a mess.
Straight up mess.
Yeah.
Right. They had some upgrade kits that made it into a decent combiner, but
shouldn't need that many upgrade kits to make it look decent.
Right. Oh, Planet X Dinobots too. Yeah, that's another one.
Yeah.
Well, my friends, it's been quite a journey tonight. One of our best shows, I think.
There
one of our best shows.
Well, because you're on, Rick, right? Like that's really the key.
I think this is the dream team. We should never let anyone else be on the show again. It should just be the four of us.
There you go.
Fuck you, Rob, Nick, and Peter, and Christian.
Yeah. And I'll see you guys again. Let's see. Probably around Thanksgiving.
Okay. Sounds good. There you go. Now, at that point, will you be back to not having the beard?
No, I'm going to do no shirt November.
Okay.
Oh, I was going to say you should not shave between now and Thanksgiving and see what that looks like.
Yeah. My face or anywhere else.
You
no shave till November.
Right.
Yeah.
We didn't get to discuss the gimmick of releasing weird gray versions of your toys. Come on, guys. This is such a common gimmick.
What is that?
Oh, yeah.
It's
Dr. Wu. Dr. Wu released their first release of their grapple mold. They haven't released actual green grapple. They haven't released orange grapple yet. They just released this gray skull and this special exclusive 2-pack with Inferno. Just the gray one.
See, that
orange coming later.
Of all those figures that Rick shipped me when he had me for Secret Santa a few years ago, like the whatever pewter figure thing.
I mean, they were made of
plastic, but they were like the pewter, whatever color.
The FCF figures.
Yeah, sure. I don't know. I haven't been somewhere. I'm not sure.
You're an impersonator. You're right. Hangs out and pretends it's your on-painted Warhammer figures.
Oh, Rick, people are wondering when we're going to get some tape cut.
Oh, there's going to be cut. Thank you. There's going to be a new cut to tape this weekend. I just got in 4 giant boxes from Big Bad, and I got a box from Aunt Jessica, who went to the Transformers restaurant in Hong Kong. So,
cool.
It's the Let's Make People Jealous episode. Cut the tape this weekend.
So Rick will make sure to send the videos to me like right as I'm going on vacation, and so I won't actually post them for like another 2 weeks.
So you know what? I'll get it done before Friday. How's that?
Well, so I'm not going on vacation until next weekend. So
okay,
not this weekend, next week. So like as long as you send it like this week or weekend, we should be fine.
All right. Yeah, cut the tape.
Okay.
This weekend. First cut the tape of the year.
There you go. I was also going to mention book club this week at 9:30 Eastern, 8:30 Central. Is going to be more of the Transformers, whatever, phase 2, 3, whatever that, I don't know, whatever. Like it's
IDW reboot.
Yeah, 23 and 24.
IDW reboot.
Join everybody for that. And Yo Joe, apparently.
Rick, there's a question. Are you going to be at TFCon LA?
I will be at TFCon LA. I'm going to do a number of panels. I'm going to do a fundraiser for our friend Bill Forrester, who is suffering from a neurological disease. And I'm also going to be doing it hasn't been announced yet. There's another panel going on I'm taking part of that hasn't been announced yet, so I don't think I can say anything about it yet.
Mm-hmm. I'll be at the con too, but I'm not doing any panels. I'm just going to be there lurking.
Well, you're going to be at my panels.
Sure.
Yeah, and you know what, Anna? You're welcome to sit on the stage during my panels.
Ooh, like on the edge of the stage, just like
so
a really confused person.
I'm going to point
just sitting here. Where am I? Why am I here? What purpose do I serve?
You gotta watch out on that, Anna, because like Rick's gonna have you like hosting his panel for him, just like FYI.
Like,
I like to walk during the panels. I don't like to sit on this. I like to be on the same level as everybody else. So I like to walk around the panel and not sit on the stage. So I'll make sure the camera follows me to wherever you are, Anna. I'm just gonna follow you around the room.
Okay, because I was afraid you were about to ask me to carry you. Because that's where I thought this was going. Like, I see somebody carry me, I'm a little tired.
Now, which one of you has more restraining orders from G1 voice actors?
Probably not me.
I don't know. I mean, some of them aren't dead anymore, so does it still count?
Aren't dead anymore?
They're not dead anymore, no.
I had a restraining order against me when they were alive, but now that I've brought them back, they're all mine.
Right.
In my collection.
Right. It's
I'm only
a
Matt
G2
one.
restraining order. All right.
All right.
Say we call it a night.
Yeah, thanks, Rick, for joining us.
Sure.
Thanks to everyone in the chat. And we'll see everybody next week.
Cut the tape.
Thanks for joining us, Phil.
Yeah, and Anna. Bye.